Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Pitchline Chronicles, where fans become family. I am Uncle Tats. I am here with Donald and Jermaine. And look, the Yankees took their first series loss yesterday. It really sucks. It sucks when it's against your division. It sucks when it's the Blue Jays. It sucks against any team. But these things happen in a season. I'm trying to react to what we saw, not overreact. I think that's also something that needs to be kept in mind because, the one thing, it's that shit happens in baseball, and I don't want to, rather than really just go into all the negatives about what happened. The one thing I do want to get out of the way and have a nice discussion about, one of my favorite broadcasters of all time announced his retirement. So I want to lead off the show giving the salute to John Sterling. Love him or hate him, you have to respect him. He is one of the legends of sports broadcasting. He's right up there with Vince Scully, Harry Carey, all of those guys that have come and gone. And just, lucky enough, he is still here for us to honor properly, which they will do Saturday, which I can't wait. I'm like, that's just an extra bonus on top of what Saturday's going to be for us.
Right, we're going to be there to see it.
We will be there to see it. But later on in the show, a little teaser. We're going to close out the show also talking about our favorite John Sterling calls. I teased a few of them on the NFV shows yesterday of what my runner-ups were for my all-time favorite.
Ooh.
I had two that I had as a tie. So now you have to stay for the whole show if you want to catch it. But I will reveal I have a tie of two of my all-time favorite John Sterling calls, and that's how we will close out the show. So stay tuned for that. As always, hit that like button if you're going to enjoy this discussion, which I know you guys will. Hit that sub button if you're new, and if you are new, drop a number 1 in the chat so we know to welcome you properly. Share this out with everybody that you know. And Donald, before we really get into it, we got a beautiful chat going on. Let's do our roll call.
I agree with that. Cold Italian Pizza, one of the best tag names in YouTube, says, "What's happening, fellas? Salute to you, Cold Italian." 161, good to see you, Jace. How are you doing, my guy? Got Joan in the chat. Salute Joan. Stevie B in the chat. Salute Frederick in the chat. Salute Jonathan, always loyal in the chat. Salute to you too. We got Jacob Petruzzi. Good to see Jacob. I've not seen Jacob in a while. Good to see you, my guy. How are you? Salute to all. And we got Medina in there. Yeah, now we're getting the chat going here. We got guys flooding in the chat. We love it. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Salute to you, Medina.
Jake. There was going on, Jake. Going on, Medina, Jacob.
That's a boss.
Right, Jason. Look, we appreciate everybody that spends their morning with us. We never take it for granted. But the one thing that has been taken for granted is the idea that this offense was just going to be dominant with the top of the order, and they have just really, like yesterday it was highlighted that they're really struggling. I think that, what was it? They were 1 for 17 out of the top.
Can I stop you there? Weren't you going to want to lead off the show with talking about John Sterling?
Yes, I did. I got a little ahead of myself.
So let's talk about John Sterling.
Let's talk about John. Let's bring it back.
Let's start on a positive because I got a lot to say about like a good Glaber. He isn't there, especially not at second. I like to talk about him later on, but let's talk about something positive, and that is their legendary announcer, the voice of the Yankees for about 2 or 3 generations of Yankee fans. Yeah. So hit us off, Tats.
Yeah, no, you have a guy who's called, he's been calling games for the Yankees since 1989. So that's where you're crossing generations on listening to him. A 64-year broadcasting career. That is phenomenal. And growing up in New York, a Yankees fan, to be able to have the highlight of his career broadcasting and calling games for his favorite team. I mean, it doesn't get much more storybook than that. Um, there was also the mixed report that it was because of health reasons, and he actually went on the radio and confirmed, no, it wasn't my health. You know, I'm going to be 86 in July. You know, the long off season, not missing the playoffs. See, I knew there was something bad going to come out about that, because he said, he goes, that was the most time he enjoyed his life, was having that extra time at home, where he realized that he wanted to be around his family more and his friends and just have time for himself and not have to deal with the grind of the road. Traffic in New York, anybody that listens to New York knows traffic is a bitch. But I mean, over 5,000 games he's called in his career. And anybody can call a baseball game, right? Anybody can make a career out of it. John reinvented it. He took his own unique style, not trying to be all buttoned up and perfect. He was himself every game. Whether it is high, it is far, it's caught by the shortstop. All those jokes when he missed, when he would miss a call. The random banter with Susan Wallman. Like those are things you don't hear on other broadcasts. The Yes Network, they do very well with especially with Michael Kay being under Sterling's wing for a while. They were able to, you hear that back and forth in that random, talking about dinner from the night before. But John just had a different way about it. And, you always see, like, Vince Scully was one of one, and so is John Sterling. You can't repeat what he was able to do as a broadcaster. So it was a phenomenal career that he had. And I'm glad that we at least got to, we're going to be able to say goodbye properly. Because unfortunately, a lot of times that does not happen. You don't get your send off. And also, hats off to the Yankees, because this was, even though it was only announced on Monday, actually, it was after our show when the news started to break. When I said just win it for John, I said I think this is going to be John's last year. He's getting older, he's getting tired, and then a couple hours later, the announcement came out, and the Yankees put this together really quick to give him the ovation that he properly deserves. And so kudos to the Yankees as well for putting that together so quick. Because sometimes when you have to do these extra events, sometimes it takes a little while for everything to become coordinated to pull it off. The Yankees, they're not even hesitating. They're just doing what they have to do. And he's going to be calling some of the games from the booth, I heard. I don't know if he's doing the whole game. That would be awesome. But to John, thank you. Thank you because I work at night. I listen to him every night. So he was my link to everything. On the weekends, I can catch it on on TV. But 98% of the games for the last 15 years that I've worked at night has been John Sterling. So I'm going to miss him on the radio. I am. But I'm glad that he's going out on his own terms.
Do you know who we haven't said hello to yet? We haven't said hello to Rob. How are you, Rob? Finally, Rob is co-host here.
Yeah, just been sitting here. No, everything Tat said is completely right. He's the greatest. He's the voice of the Yankees. It's not Michael Kay. It's John Sterling. He's the voice of a dynasty. That's how I put it. You can say he's voice of a generation, but he's the voice of the dynasty. When you watch those 90s teams, Michael Kay was the color guy. He was the guy. He was the number 2 to John Sterling. It was John Sterling that was calling those games. So that's why I'm gonna miss him. But it was time. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It was time. The guy he's older. He wants to enjoy however much time he has left, and good for him. He had a hell of a career. He was fantastic at what he did. He gave Yankee fans something to talk about. Oh, did you hear what's his call going to be for Soto? What's his call going to be for Verdugo? What's his call going to be for whoever we trade for? That's what Aaron Judge mentioned. They always talked about that stuff. So he obviously had a lasting impression on the team, on the players, and the fans. So just thank you, John Sterling. And I'm going to miss him, but I'll always remember him for those 90s teams because that was the voice of the New York Yankees. And he was the best at what he did. So tip of the cap to John. Enjoy retirement. And they're going to celebrate him on Saturday because he deserves it.
Yes,
I can't imagine a game not called by John Sterling. That's going to be very, very strange because every single home run, I don't care who you are, and I don't care if you're watching on television. The very first thought that you have after the home run, after celebrating, is thinking, "What's John Sterling's call for this? I wonder what John Sterling's doing right now for this call." It's just because it's iconic. Now, whether some fans from other teams think it's a little hokey or whatever, it's still unique, and it's caught on, and it's his MO. That's his thing. And I think it's special, man. The Yankees win. The Yankees win. I mean, that's right up there with Frank Sinatra singing "New York, New York" for me. Like, it's like when I think about Yankees winning, I think John Sterling, and then Sinatra going "New York, New York." It's just, I don't know why. It's just, that's just something that just ingrained with me. It's like, it's just part of the charm. And John Sterling, he befits a legendary franchise because he's a legendary voice. He's a legendary voice of baseball, and he's a legendary broadcaster of a legendary franchise. And, we're very privileged as Yankee fans. We're a little spoiled, but we're very privileged as well because we have legendary players, but we also have legendary broadcasters. And he certainly is one. He's the voice of two generations. And what's remarkable is he called every pitch thrown at Derek Jeter, his very first to his very last.
Yep.
Derek Jeter, who's now who had an incredible long career. He's in the Mount Rushmore of all-time Yankees for me, and well over 20 years, and also has been retired for a number of years. And John Sterling called all of it, and saw him get inducted in the Hall of Fame. That just shows the longevity of the guy. And guess what? His voice never, ever wavered. It still sounds as good as it did 20 years ago.
Yep.
Now, his depth perception isn't quite what it was 20 years ago. So I think we can all say that. And I think he'd say that himself. But, it's amazing that his voice is still as booming, powerful, and fantastic as it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It's remarkable. Now, I associate a lot of his historic calls with the Dynasty team because that's when he was really hitting. But boy, it's a mess. I really wish that he would have announced it to call one more game. I don't know, just allow us to kind of say goodbye and kind of tune in and things like that. But I don't know, maybe he's going to do it at some point. I hope that maybe he calls a playoff game or something, or just some cool. I hope he does that. But in the meantime, we get to say goodbye to him on Saturday. That's very exciting. So anyone who's going to the game, get there early to see John Sterling. It's only right that we send him off like Yankee fans do, with honor that he deserves. It's tough to see him go, man. It's going to be very weird, very, very weird, because there was something comforting about him. There's just something relaxing. He's like I was listening to my boy Francesa, and he says, that's like baseball's a radio game, really. And there was something very relaxed about every time you turn on the radio, John Sterling's talking to you. Every time you go to the beach with your kids, John Sterling's there. If you're sitting outside having a barbecue, John Sterling's there. It's just something like comforting about it. It just feels like, right, this is home. This is baseball. This is the Yankees. This is special. So God bless you, Sterling. God bless you, bro. And look forward to saying goodbye to you on Saturday.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point with John, with the the voice of the radio, and how it is and baseball is a radio game. I still, I've always enjoyed baseball on the radio. There's listen,
Yeah, you've already
obviously,
said that. You've always said that.
yeah, being there is great. Listening to, and then if I can't watch it, if I can't be there live, if I can't listen on the radio, then I'll watch it on TV. Because John was able. It wasn't just a broadcast. It was a conversation. You felt like you were just having a conversation with somebody through airwaves. Like I said, he wasn't buttoned up. He made a lot of mistakes, but he would just keep going with it. He never let it kind of detract him. He's like, I'm human. What am I going to do? That's baseball, Susan. There's human error to it. So, yeah, and I think Stephen B is honest, like how they always play Frank after one. They should only play Frank after a win. That drives me nuts, by the way.
Agreed.
They play that every game, but they should have it all over the loudspeaker, having the Yankees win chant from John before Frank kicks in. I don't know how they would do that, if they would do that, but that actually is a good idea. But we will revisit John to close out the show on a positive with some of our favorite calls. But let's get into the series with tomorrow. Because it's one thing to lose a series, like I was starting to say before I got sidetracked, or while I was sidetracked. You're going to lose series once, it's going to happen. Everybody's going to have that little hiccup where they lose a few in a row, and it hurts more. And, it's more damaging when it's against a team you can't stand. Not being able to figure out a pitcher that just owns you, especially with the lineup that we have. But the lineup, the top of the order went 1 for 17, in these two games. That's unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. I know, offers are going to happen. Volpe didn't have a great game yesterday. He's been so good. You're like, all right, this is not his day. But this lineup is supposed to be able to carry each other. And when we have not seen that these past few games, where they're really just going, all right, you don't have it, I got your back. You're not seeing that kind of attitude from them. So everything, the body language on this team is kind of getting. I'm starting to get a little concerned that it's going to tailspin into making to things getting worse, because we got off to such a hot start. It's hard to imagine watching the team we saw in these two games in Toronto.
More than
I don't know how you guys feel about it, Rob.
You knew it was going to happen. Like, eventually, they're not going to win every single series. It would have been fantastic if they found a way to win every series, but that just never happens in baseball. We're not even 20 games in. It sucks. Don't get me wrong. I hate losing. I never want to see the team lose. But again, eventually these guys are going to start hitting. Aaron Judge is not going to be a 170 hitter the entire season. I'm more concerned with Rizzo's at bats. I know Judge is just missing. He's just missing.
Yeah.
His timing is just off. Rizzo looks like he's either going to get 3 hits or he's going to go over his next 20. I think he needs to be dropping the order. Stanton could be dropping the order, really. We need like a true cleanup hitter. And Joan just mentioned it when Dominguez comes back, breaking up that 3-4, maybe, or at 2-3, maybe you put him in the 4 spot, Dominguez. I think they should put Judge back in the 2 hole and see what having Soto behind him can do. Because right now, Judge batting third does not look like himself, because he's been batting second since 2017. Like, it's been a long time that he's been batting second. I feel like Soto might, as his protection, might be better for Judge, but hopefully Judge can get on a roll sooner than later. There's a few guys that have just looked lost. And even with Judge's struggles, he still has like a near 800 OPS because he's still finding ways to draw walks, which is always a good sign. But Rizzo is either getting a single, or yesterday he got robbed twice, which I'm not going to use that against him. That damn guy with the mustache robbed him somehow twice in the same game. But
what did I do?
Not you, Tats. Not you.
I'm kidding.
Davis Schneider, not you. You're not Davis Schneider. If you were, I wouldn't be talking to you right now because I'd be very angry with you. But no, it stinks. But eventually, these guys are going to get going. You know they are. Gleyber Torres needs to get going with the bat. He's a streaky hitter. Hopefully, he gets hot soon. Once these guys start to hit, it's going to be a different story. I'm not too concerned about the offense because, again, they do have some streaky guys. My biggest concern is this rotation. That is my biggest concern with the team right now. We're not getting length. And I know, again, only 20 games, not even 20 games in, but the fact that we've only had one start go in 7 innings or more, one starter do that, and it was Nestor Cortez, and you know it's not going to happen again, most likely. My biggest concern is with the pitching, but yeah, the key guys have to hit because Soto hasn't looked good either. We're not going to use that against him, though, because he was so good. Same thing with Volpe. So if Cabrera starts to struggle, we're not going to use that against him because he's been our best hitter outside of Volpe and Soto. Even Trevino's hitting. Well, who saw that coming? So if Trevino can turn it around, anyone can turn it around. So I think it's going to happen soon. It just sucks that it's happening against a division rival and against a pitcher that continuously finds a way to beat us. So James Rosen, everyone's been praising him for good reason. This lineup has been a lot more patient. They've had better at-bats, but get to work, especially with your big guys, and get this thing fixed, and we'll start winning games again in no time. It's a 3-game losing streak. It sucks. But we still got 12 wins, still got tied, I think, for the most wins in baseball. It's not the end of the world. But also I would like to see it get fixed sooner than later because I don't want to see Aaron Judge batting below 180. That's for damn sure.
Well, I mean, there's the saying that you're never as good as you look when you're winning and bad as you look when you're losing. There's always something in between. I would say that we're closer to being very good than not. But there's certain things that need to be cleared up. The infield defense is a huge problem. It's costing us runs. It's costing us games now. It's racking up, and it's unacceptable, and it needs to be stopped. I don't know what is going on with the middle infield defense, but it has to be solved. Routine plays are not being made, and it's costing us runs. In 1-run games, 2-run games, that can't happen because that is a difference between being a good team and a very good team. Difference between a playoff team and a World Series team, a team of being wild card to winning a division. These are small margins, but you have to get them right, especially in a game like baseball. And we just don't have like a whole rotation of overpowering guys. There's going to be a lot of contact. There's going to be a lot of ground balls. We need our guys locked in. And I'm sorry I'm looking absolutely squarely at you, Gleyber Torres, because you are really having a diabolical time of it at second base. He looks like he's been playing shortstop. That's what he looks like he was when he was playing shortstop. It's that bad. It's that bad. And he has gotten the benefit of so many really generous calls that are being called singles where like a well-trained chimp could have thrown that to first base, and he's missing them. So I'm looking squarely at him. I'm looking at Rizzo. I don't know what's going on with his depth perception, but he's struggling to catch the ball. He got lucky again where they overturned a clear error into a base hit that should have been his 4th error in the year. It's a real problem. And Trevino, he can't throw to second base. This is a new thing here where obviously other teams are watching our film and they're like, get on base and steal because Wells ain't throwing me out and Trevino sure as hell ain't throwing me out. So you've got a weak-armed catcher. You've got a first base that can't catch right now. You got Gleyber Torres who can't do anything. And you've got Ozzy, who's fantastic on the left side offensively, not so great on the right side, and he can't defend worth a shit right now at third base. These are all real problems. So I think that's a real issue. So that's 1. 2, we're not getting any length from our starters. None. I'm worried about that. And 3, I kind of have to agree with Tats. There's something about the body language these last 3 games which gives me vibes of last year.
Yeah.
Like they just need to wake up a little bit. Like I just saw vibes in yesterday's game early where I'm like, I don't feel good about this game. Like we're playing legitimately like shit, and I don't know why. So the one positive is the fact that it was a 5-4 game, and Verdugo was about half a foot away from a game-tying home run in the bottom of the ninth. It would have changed everything. We probably would have changed. We probably would have won us the game. I think we would have come back and won the game had that happened. So that's unfortunate. And it also shows, hey, that this Yankee team, no matter how bad they play, are right in these games, and they should arguably win in them. So that's probably, you could look at it as a negative that they lost through small margins, but as a positive because, eventually they're going to get this thing turned around. And then offensively is really what I'm looking at. I think our offense is going to cover up a lot of holes that we kind of have right now. In terms of the small margins, like these errors, the middle infield defense, all these things that aren't a strength. I have to call out Aaron Boone on Talking Yanks, where he said that the infield's been a strength. No, it's not. It's definitely not something to be positive about. It's something that needs to be worked on. I think they need to get a little bit more drills in there. And Gleyber Torres, I don't know, someone needs to wake him up because the season started, bro. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, and look, I think there's so many different avenues to go down to critique things. I don't know how much of a shakeup Boone wants to put into this lineup, or if he should. Like I said, maybe a simple simple adjustment is switching Judge and Soto. Where you still have them in the top of the order for them to face the in the first inning. But
so you agree with Rob that they should swap?
I think it's worth looking at. If for a couple of games, sometimes a simple thing like that can make can make a difference. So look what it did. It hasn't helped Torres, but look at what it's done for Volpe going to the top of the order. They actually was something. It actually kind of got Boone to let him use his legs a little more. On the bases. So maybe a little tweak of the lineup, not a complete shakeup, because then we'll be complaining that he changes the lineup every night.
See, here's my problem with that. I don't agree with robbing Peter to pay Paul, and I don't agree with catering to other players in order to make them more comfortable than another. Juan Soto has always preferred to be where he is. This is his preferred spot. I don't really want to mess with that. There's nothing that Soto's doing.
No, but I want to get Judge going.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You can't rob Peter to pay Paul. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all on Aaron Judge to get this thing fixed. He just has to fix this. I don't think it matters. And to be honest, Judge is always asked to bat third anyway. So at the end of the day, it's just down to timing. And that's why I disagree with a point from, I believe, NYYST, where it was like, oh, well, at the moment, we're getting nothing at the bottom of the order, so let's change it and let's put Volpe back down there just to help them until they get it figured out. But I'm like, no, but you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, because at the end of the day, who are you going to put at the leadoff spot? You want Gleyber Torres up there? He can't hit. He can't do anything. So you can't have him leading off. So at the end of the day, they made the right move putting Volpe up top. It's just really down to guys hitting, because if they're not going to hit, they're not just going to hit. And that's just it. They have to fix this. You're looking squarely at the middle of our order. You're looking at Aaron Judge, who's had a horrible start to the year, legitimately. Gleyber Torres doesn't look like a major leaguer right now. And Rizzo, he still looks like he's not right. Is he okay? Like, I'm concerned at this point.
Yeah, Rizzo would have had a 2-hit night if it wasn't for those defensive plays, though.
Yeah, I know, but
that was legit robbery.
I agree, but if you look at the metrics, as we showed yesterday,
not hitting at all.
Everything's blue. He's not barreling the baseball. And he's not squaring up to pitches, and he's not hitting with any exit velo. There's a lot of things which you normally associate with an Anthony Rizzo, especially defensively. So, and he missed also. Forget those two that he almost got hits for. He missed a cookie by that Kikuchi left. He hung a curveball that was absolutely screaming to go yard, and Rizzo got under it. And you saw Rizzo's reaction after he got under it. He was very frustrated. He was like, God damn, I missed it. And I've seen a lot of this, man. I've seen a lot of this from Rizzo all year long, where he's getting under cookies that he should be absolutely drilling. So Kikuchi got away with one right there. He really did. It was a curveball. He just left right up there, and he just got under it. And actually, is right, to be honest. Rizzo's bat has not been as bad as his defense has been, because oddly, Rizzo's batting average has actually been pretty good for considering his struggles and considering his problem with barreling up the baseball. His batting average has been there, but the power's not been there. So you're looking at this middle of our order right now, and I mean, let's look at legitimately who's actually done well offensively for us. I would say Ozzie has. And I would say Soto has been an MVP. He's been fantastic.
And Volpe, that's it.
This is fantastic. And then there's Anthony Volpe. That's 3. And then you could make the argument that Giancarlo Stanton, with that hot streak that he had for about a week and a half. That's so you maybe 3.5.
3 games.
3.5, 4. And then the rest have been terrible. Grisham isn't doing anything off the bench. Wells has been very unlucky. If you look at his StatCast, everything is like a red.
He's another one, yeah.
Same thing with Judge, though. I was just about to bring up Judge's baseball savant. A lot of it's in the red, except for that sweet spot percentage, which I think is like 26. So he's just missing. Like, once he gets that sweet spot again, he's going to start crushing. And that's why I'm not too concerned about Judge. But the complete opposite can be said about Torres and Rizzo. They're not hitting the sweet spot at all. And nothing, like, they're not hitting it hard. Exit velocity's down, launch angles down, everything's down for those guys. But Judge, everything's in the red except for that sweet spot. Like, his expected, his weighted on base, everything is up. It's just that he's missing. He's missing just by a little bit. He's, again, last night, he missed a couple. He's gonna get going. It's Aaron Judge. The only reason why I said flipping them is because Soto actually hit third most of his career, especially with San Diego. I think he preferred to hit third. I'm just wondering if having Soto behind Judge would make pitchers attack him differently. Because if you have Stanton behind Judge and Rizzo behind Judge right now, they're not, they can do what they want with Judge. They can pitch him outside. Like, go walk. Take the walk. We don't care. We're just going to get Rizzo to ground into a double play anyway. But now if Soto's behind him,
they just do the same thing with Soto? Because I completely agree. Like, it's
Soto's discipline.
They're semi-pitching around Aaron Judge because they believe that they can absolutely have no problem getting Gleyber Torres, Rizzo, and Stanton out to some extent. But if they swapped, wouldn't it just be exactly the same thing?
Because Soto doesn't chase as much as Judge does. That's why I feel like Soto will be better there. Soto's plate awareness, his discipline is better than Aaron Judge. I think Judge is the better overall player, but I think when it comes to well, I'm just saying, you combine everything. When Aaron Judge is right, it's hard to find anyone that's overall better than him at everything. Defense, offense, everything. But with Soto, you don't see him chasing the pitches that Judge would. So that's why I think if like Soto's going to be more than happy to be like, okay, well, I'm going to take the walk too. Or you make one mistake to Soto, he's probably not going to miss it right now. Where Judge is kind of missing those. So maybe you pitch Judge a little bit differently. I don't think they're going to do it. I'm just saying maybe you test it. I'm not saying that should happen. I didn't think they should have moved Volpe up in the order, but look, I was wrong. And I'll admit it. I didn't think they should have done it, but they did it, and it's working. So keep it. Don't change it. And even Aaron Boone said when DJ's back, they're not going to switch it. Thankfully, they're going to keep Volpe where he is. So I'm good for that. I really do think we need LeMahieu back, though. We desperately need him back defensively, and we need that contact, because if you put him sixth, that's gonna make this lineup so much deeper.
It changes everything.
Yeah. What do you do with maybe you sit Verdugo against certain pitchers? I know he's just missing as well. We got Dominguez on the comeback, so there are guys coming back, reinforcements, but I'm looking at that as DJ coming back, more of a defensive reinforcement. And God damn it, I miss Oswald Peraza right now. My goodness, do we miss his glove? Because he could be playing second or third right now, and it wouldn't be that much of an issue. I don't think we'd be having these defensive gaffes right now of him out there. But we were missing 3 big gloves. Peraza, Birdie, and DJ all being hurt at the same time. It's screwing up with the defense. And then you got Gleyber Torres. What did we talk about a few years ago? When he struggles with one thing, it affects the other side of his game. He can't hit right now. So what's happening? He's thinking about that, and now he can't field. Or I can't field, and now it's affecting his at-bats. I don't want to get into what's in his head because we don't know what goes on in his head. But that clearly has been an issue with him in his career, or at least a few years ago. So again, if he starts to hit, I think the defense will get better. Or if he starts to play better defense, hopefully soon, then he'll start to hit. It's just when one part of his game is bad, the other gets affected. He's not a bad hitter. We've seen that throughout his career. Even in his bad seasons, he was still one of our better hitters. He needs to get the glove going first, and then that bat will pick up.
Well, perfect. Two perfect examples for that. One, when they moved him to shortstop, we know absolutely that he carried that. And he was trying to focus on shortstop, and it affected him offensively, and he fell apart. And then he kind of blamed the Yankees for it afterwards, and he still took another year afterwards just to get himself back together. So that's one example. Second example, when he heard that he was in the trade conversation at the trade deadline, for the following month after it, he was an abomination on both sides of the either offensively and defensively. Remember that when he was part of the Marlins trade conversation, when he found out, he fell apart. So there is I think Rob was onto something here. I think there's a psychological aspect to this, and he's clearly psychologically got a few things going on right now. I think one, I do think that the contract is in his mind. He wants to be the Yankee. He wants to be the Yankee for a long, long time. I think him and Juan Soto are like besties. He wants to be with Juan Soto for the next 5-10 years. I guarantee it. But then he's also thinking, bro, if I'm not hitting here, I'm out the door. So there's that. And he's got that. Two, it's quite clear that when he can't hit, he can't defend, and vice versa. So it's a worry. It is a worry, and I'm getting very frustrated watching him because his body language isn't great at all.
It's what it was 3 years ago.
Yeah,
the same exact thing 3 years ago when he
looked
defeated.
And that's the problem that and why the critique comes more his way. Judge, he's got he still has that swagger about him. Even with Stanton. They don't look like man. I don't want to do that. Like I can't do it. He has those Glaber just has that attitude, that language where he's like, don't fuck up, don't fuck up, don't fuck up, don't fuck, going through his head all the time rather than all right, I can get out of this. I can get out of this. I can get out. Like that's the attitude we need from him. And it doesn't seem like he really has that mental ability to do that. And it's a shame. Because he is a good ball player. It's just like Donald was just saying. When one thing falls apart, the other goes with it. And that's where the frustration lies. Everybody else is still holding, look, we're not being embarrassed out there. That's why I said I want to react to the series, but I don't want to overreact. Because, we're really they're not we can talk about the defense over and over again. That can become embarrassing. But overall, with this team, everything is pretty much we're in every game, and I think from what we saw in the first few series, even yesterday, they almost had that comeback, in the game. So you don't feel like those crooked numbers and you're done. Like, how are we going to get 2 runs back? No, it's okay. You feel confident that they can get those runs back. It's just making sure you don't put yourself too deep in a hole that you can't climb out of it. Where you're getting both hands on the top of the hill, but you just can't get your body over it. And that's unfortunately what happened yesterday. And if
we found the cause. Got a new jinx in the chat. It's no longer my father. It's Sunil. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Dad. You've got the mush taken away from your name, and you gave it to Sunil. Mister, I've seen every John Sterling game get called, and everyone before him.
So Acevedo says here, sorry, but the throw to third was the right play because it was in front of him. Cabrera needs to apply that tag because he needed to cut down that lead runner. Yeah. There's arguments for both sides because it was a good throw, but I think technically you should probably always go with the guaranteed out. I
had no issue with the throw to third.
When he fumbled that ball in the mound and then he didn't throw to first and said he threw home, missed the play, and the run scored, wouldn't have been safer just to throw it first, guarantee out. same with this situation. I know his feet were more set on the third base side, but it's much easier to make that throw to first base. It's guarantee out and deal with it from there.
No, when I was saying, look, but that's what I was saying. We're not defeating ourselves. We're not embarrassing ourselves. Like the most embarrassing play so far this year to me was the double bobble from Torres and then trying to still get the runner out from home who was running on contact. Like that's one of those. What were you thinking? That's where we were saying his head's just not in it. I have not. Look, you want to try to cut down the run, you do it. If Gleyber feels that ball on properly, that run never scores from home. He's out by a mile. And that's a double play inning over. But it's those little mental lapses, but it's not like because I know a lot of people was and I want to get more into the pitching before we get back to Sterling to close out. But I mean, everybody's kind of doing their part. They're just not executing. If that makes any sense to you guys, because everybody's where they're supposed to be. Defensively, we're just having these little hiccups that really need to be adjusted. We're getting the right guys at the plate with the right moment with runners on. They're just either getting robbed or they're just missing. They're not just out there flailing at the plate, swinging and missing at everything. So, it's hard
when DJ gets back, guys. When DJ gets back, would you put him at second? Would you put him at second base to give Gleyber Torres a breather, or would you put him at first base to give Rizzo a breather, or do you put him at third because Cabrera isn't a very good third baseman?
Can we clone him? Can we clone DJ LeMahieu? That's real. You got to pick one, right? You got to pick one.
I think to all three or to one.
Yeah. Just pick the answer is yes. I don't know.
The answer is yes.
There's no wrong answer because Rizzo could use a breather. Torres could possibly just be a DH because I was thinking, well, what if you DH Torres and put Stanton in the outfield? But Stanton running yesterday,
no.
that didn't look good. I don't know what they do, but they need to find somebody or find a place for DJ because if you take Cabrera out of the lineup altogether, you're hurting the lineup. If you take Torres out of the field, you're improving the infield, but there's still the what if Rizzo bobbles one. I think Rizzo will be a little more clean with DJ throwing to him. I guess the obvious answer is Torres.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what do you do with Stanton then? Because if Stanton's his 4 home runs, I think he leads the team right now. I don't think you take that bat out of the lineup. What do you do there? So now you have some questions that need to be answered. It might be Rizzo. It might be Torres. I don't know, but there's really no wrong answer. Well, the wrong answer is Cabrera because you can't take him out of the lineup. Maybe you put Cabrera in left and you sit Verdugo against certain pitchers. That might be an option just to keep Cabrera's bat out there.
You need to keep his bat out there. I agree. His defense at third isn't bad enough to completely remove. Like he misses some throws, but generally he's not been a massive issue. The biggest issue has been Gleyber Torres for me by far. And also, before yesterday's game, he's batting 500 with runners in scoring position. Aussie. He's batting 500 with runners in scoring position. 12 RBIs. He's second behind Juan Soto in RBIs. So you can't take him out. Gleyber is really an easy choice there, I think. And I think psychologically, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to give him a break for a couple of days, get his head together. I don't believe this is going to be Gleyber Torres. I do believe that there's going to be a hot streak coming, maybe in May. Maybe we'll bat like 400, and then suddenly his batting average shoots up to around about 250, 260, and then we're thinking, hey, we got Gleyber Torres back. I think this is him. I think he's streaky. I think psychologically he's just a little bit flaky, shaky. I don't know what you want to describe it as, but like I'm focusing on him because I think he's been the biggest issue with this team. Like this lineup would be fine if he was better, because as bad as Rizzo's been, his batting average has been there, and he also brought in the RBI double. He brought in those two runs that should have won us the game. So he's not been good, but at least he contributed a little bit. Trevino had 3 RBIs yesterday, and that guy can't hit worth a shit. So that's a good thing. So we're getting a little bit of something. Verdugo was so close to that home run, and I'm surprised Gleyber Torres didn't score on that. By the way, I have an issue like Gleyber Torres stopped at third. He should have scored. That was deep enough for him to score from first. I know he's slow, but come on. But like, I honestly think Gleyber Torres is the reason why this offense isn't completely coming together, because like he's seeing a lot of pitches, but he's doing nothing with the pitches. Like, what the fuck? And then
He's better at the
defensively,
top of the order.
been a joke. So yeah, there's nowhere to hide him. That's why I think DJ LeMahieu needs to come back sooner rather than later. I can't blame you, Mello. I'm pretty much done with Torres. I'll be honest. Like, I'm just exhausted with him. I keep talking about him for years, and nothing gets better. He's just the same guy.
Yeah, it's we tried willing him. We want to like him so much, and he'll go through those hot stretches where we're like, all right, where's this guy been? And then his old friend returns, and it's like, oh, there's the real Torres.
Yeah.
And it's really, I mean, that's why there's so much writing on how DJ is going to look when he gets back. Because I think another key part of it, with especially more so with Rizzo, I'm ignoring them, Donald. Yeah.
You mean the 2 school children in the chat?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, that's a mic
With
drop.
all those people out there.
I mean, you talk about. I mean, that was a twist.
That's rough. That's like,
But
bam.
it's what was it? Well, with DJ coming back, it's really gonna be the ability to give. No,
No, they don't.
but maybe.
That's like saying Li and Caputo need to make a show together. It would be fantastic TV.
I mean, that would be fun though. I would watch that.
Oh, what would it be fun? Would it be fun
No, I
though?
would-
Having
Nothing
Li
involving
say
LI is fun.
trade, make these 8 trades, and Caputo saying, "No, you're a fucking idiot," and it would be the worst show ever. Let's carry on though. Back to baseball.
Yeah.
Because,
No, I think being able to give Torres and Rizzo a proper breathing, is something that might help them. And if you're gonna be able to, give, anybody could take Rizzo's spot, I would trust, LeMahieu to do it. He's done it before. He could play first base, no problem. And Mel, it might be that Rizzo, maybe age is catching up to him, quicker than we wanted to. But we don't, it's leading more so where, they're not going to pick up the option. That team option is not going to be exercised. But the thing is, we still, how strong is our first base depth to lose?
We don't have any.
Exactly.
Get Rice called up. Spencer
not even
Jones
playing
keeping on
first
paper.
base.
It's a worry. I'm worried about first base. Let's get into the pitching before we sign off
Yes.
with John Sterling stuff.
Luis Hill, right? I got to give him credit. He had nothing. He was walking everybody. He even was walking the dog. I mean, he had.
the best comment.
It was bad to have that many, and he's usually one of these guys that is really on point. But I have to give him credit for keeping us in that game. He was able to get out of a lot of jams. I mean, that one, what do you have, like 5 walks in 1 inning, but only 1 run came across. I mean, he was able, and after having, 50-something pitches in the second inning, still was able to get into the 5th under, at just 100 pitches. So, I mean, he willed his way to at least give 5 and continue to keep the Yankees in the game with all the walks. Sometimes it's not always about how many strikeouts you have, how many innings you go, how many pitches you throw. It's how you deal with those innings in between, from the first pitch to the last pitch. And I think I saw a little bit of grit from Hill.
He's great, but let's be concise about this. The problem is there's something with his arm where if he just loses the angle a little bit, then he's completely lost and he walks everybody.
Small
seems to be like an issue there, because obviously his first start, it was locked in, it was fantastic all through the minor leagues. The spring training was right there, everything, pinpoint location. But his arm angle has suddenly come out a little bit, and he's not found it. It started with the whole Hernandez thing. It started with the umpire thing, right? Because he seemed to have lost it a little bit, right? And then he struggled to get it back. And then this start, it was completely gone from the very first pitch. So his arm angle just got out, and it never came back. He couldn't throw a fastball down the middle of the plate. He was throwing fastballs about 15 feet off the plate. It was just way off. And I'm a little surprised that they weren't trying to mix in a few more off speed, get his slider going. Here's the thing with him, and he just needs to learn this, right? And I know Aaron Boone talked to him about it. He really needs to learn this. His stuff is unbelievable. He just needs to trust that his fastball is going to beat people. He's got to trust that. Don't be so pernickety about location. You've got a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. At some point, especially in 2-2 counts, 3-2 counts, you have to trust that you can throw it past guys. And he will. 9 times out of 10, he will. You get that fastball. It's electric. And it isn't just a flat fastball. It moves up. There's a lot of nice movement to that fastball. He just needs to trust a little bit more. He needs to get his arm angle in there properly, and then just trust that he can rear it back and let it go and beat people with it. That's an issue. Another thing, he's throwing far too many pitches. Sometimes it's so much better if you can induce contact quickly, get some outs quickly, because there's always going to be an inning with him where he's going to throw 35 pitches, right? He's just going to lose it, right? There's always going to be that inning. But if you can eat up the innings where you can get some quick ones out of the way, where you can eat in a couple of innings where it's like 9-10 pitches, and then if he runs in a little bit of trouble, it's okay, because you've still got plenty left in the tank, and then you're not out the game by 3 1/3 innings. So that's something that he needs to learn. He's not learning that right now. So that's something that he needs to fix. He needs to get some quicker outs. He needs to get some quicker outs. He needs to trust that his fastball can beat people. And right now it's a mechanical issue. His mechanics are a little off. Now, I do trust that he's gutty, and I love the fact that he was gutty and he got through that. I'm a little surprised that Matt Blake didn't go talk to him more. I'm surprised that the catcher didn't go up to him and talk to him a little bit more. Even Rizzo just kind of stopping him, going, hey, that's something Rizzo likes to do. I'm surprised we didn't do that more. It just kind of felt like we just kind of sat and waited for him to implode. And I was a little bit of an issue with that. I didn't think that was great. I think that could have been worked out better. But hey, he's a gutty guy and he got through it.
Well, I was going to say, and I don't want to keep going down all these different rabbit holes, but real quick, they were talking about it on the Foul Territory show with Scott Braun and AJ Pazinski and those guys, that, these pitchers aren't being brought up to go deep into games anymore. It's give us your best velocity, just get us to the 5th inning, maybe the 6th, and we'll let the bullpen take over from there. They're not conditioned for deep games anymore, which is also why there's so many injuries, which is how that conversation came about.
That's another rabbit hole.
Yeah, but to bring
give me your thoughts on Heel.
To bring that back to Joe's point, is they did have, with the doubleheader, did push his start back a little bit. That might have thrown him off with his routine. So
that's true.
We'll see how the next start goes, if he cleans it back up, and then we'll know if it was just a bad game.
Rob, look at this mechanic.
Absolutely not to Stanton playing first base. You were doing so well, Dad. You were doing so well, and then you went and said that. Luis Heel walks too many batters. He's always had command issues, so I'm not surprised at this. Was it gutty? Absolutely. But I don't think we should look too much into it, because that's what he is. But I do agree that there's a mechanical thing, because like Donald mentioned, the arm angle is so important with him, because his stuff moves more than a lot of other pitchers' stuff moves. Even that fastball, even at 99, 100, it moves. So one false twitch of that hand could potentially have it go phew, and that's what you walk 7 batters. But hats off to him for getting through 5, but you never want to see 7 walks on the stat sheet. You never want to see that. So You said you weren't going to do the bad jokes, Sunil, and then you went and ruined that. So congratulations. Another
No, I agree
W
with
for
you, man.
Sunil.
It's like it just seems to be like a slight
He'll be fine. Yeah.
thing with
It's
his
just
arm.
he needs to work on that. But he is still young and he is coming off of missing a couple of years from Tommy John. So I won't be like, I know he's going to work on it. I know Matt Blake is certainly keeping an eye on that. I think he'll be fine, but we also have to monitor how much we tinker with stuff with him because, again, we're seeing this increase in injuries almost every day. Someone's getting hurt. You don't want to do something that could alter his arm, and then he's on the shelf again. So
Yeah,
I'm not saying you have to live with it, but you do have to keep in mind this has been his one glaring issue since we got him is he throws hard. He's got great stuff, but his command is certainly an issue. And Matt Blake's specialty is working on command. So now we're going to really see what Matt Blake can do with him. Once he starts if he gives you 5-6 innings and he's walking like 3 or 4 and striking out 8, you're going to take that. But walking 7 is never going to be acceptable. Good for him for getting through 5 because we needed the length, but don't walk 7.
Stuff wise, he's behind. He's only behind Garrett Cole for me. Stuff wise, in terms of the rotation, of the 5 guys that we currently have, and Garrett Cole, for me, he's got the second best stuff, even ahead of Rodon. I'm not saying he's better than Rodon. I'm just saying he's like stuff wise, when it's working, is comparable if not better. It's just right there. It's fantastic. He's the man. He's got fantastic stuff. It's just I think there's a psychological thing where if he starts to lose the strike zone, it snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. It was the same thing with that umpire. The umpire, fuck him, by the way. The umpire got in his head, and then he started to lose the strike zone, and that's kind of carried forward into this start. So that's kind of what I'm seeing with you.
Yeah, I want to throw this message out from Spencer real quick. He's like, regarding Luis Hill, I just remind myself he's the 5th starter of this 5-minute rotation. I think he meant to say 5-man rotation.
Yeah.
He's not only the 5th starter, but he's a replacement starter. Normally, he wouldn't be in the rotation. So, I think that's a good point from Spencer. That unfortunately, we had to lose Cole for him to get a shot in the to stay up after the spring training. But if you're here, you have to be effective. And like Joan, I'm with Joan. I want to see his next start before I harp on one start. If it snowballs now, then we have an issue.
Do you have an issue with Rodon not giving you innings yesterday?
The Toronto offense, if you really, they took a page out of our book. They were working the count so well. They were really causing the pitchers havoc yesterday. I think it was a lot of 10, 12 pitch at bats. Yeah, you're not going to get deep into a game for that. So I'm not overly concerned with the innings that he put. I just want to see him work on his swing and miss stuff a little more. I think that's what really handcuffed him.
Yeah, having 100 pitches, 4 innings is inexcusable. Not for you're making $27 million. I know he's coming off of an injury, but he needs to be what Stroman has been for us in the first 3 starts. That's what Rodon needs to be. Rodon needs to give you 6 or more. I'm sorry, I can't find a silver lining to a guy throwing 100 pitches through 4 innings. You're making $27 million, buddy. I like Rodon. I think he's going to be fine. He's been good. Up until last night, he had been fine, but you need length out of him because this bullpen is already, we talked about this yet. Me and Donald talked about this yesterday. This bullpen's already looking burnt out. And they actually kept us in this game despite the defense last night. So he needs to give you length. I'm hoping that the next start will be better because you cannot be throwing 100 pitches in 4 innings, man. You just can't. That's a terrible recipe, and that's how your bullpen's going to get killed, and it happens to us. That's why I was speaking so much about adding another starter. We were all doing it. That's why I wanted Dylan Cease so bad. Look at him right now. He'd be our best starting pitcher. He'd be our best fucking pitcher. And all it would have took was a few guys that were not Spencer Jones, apparently, because the names that were discussed earlier in the offseason, none of them were Spencer Jones. he should be a Yankee, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm just saying it frustrates me. I texted Donald. I'm like, that really annoys me that he's pitching so well.
Yeah, I was pissed. I was pissed that we didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Another thing, Frankie Montas, low-key, looks absolutely ridiculously good right now.
Yep.
Well, it's the pressure of New York that doesn't exist. But no, look, I don't even think about Montas, to be honest with you.
I know, but we could have signed him for a discount, and his numbers right now.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's where the optics, if they would have brought him back on a 1-year prove-it deal,
yeah,
and use that, because you can see, we added, Strawman, we added Montas. We didn't really need to trade for Cease. And that would just create this narrative in the fan base where they would go, their heads would explode right from the get-go. But before we close it out, let's talk about some John Sterling calls. And I'll give one of my two favorites. The one that I would say has to be up there is Sanchez. I thought he had a phenomenal home run call for Gary Sanchez. So Gary's call against mine. That
can't remember what the call was.
It just slipped my head. I was just about to say it until you said so. Fuck. Rob.
Remember, no, don't turn it past the baton to me. You said it first. Gary Sanchez is one of my favorite players, despite his issues. You say the call. Come on, Tats. Get it out of that head of yours. You can do it. You're not as old as Sunil. You got it.
No, I'm like completely brain.
So it's your favorite call, but you can't remember it.
It really just completely went out of my fucking head.
Crap. Right. There's a bunch of ones. Like Burn Baby Burn, I think is
that's my favorite.
I mean, the first I'm having a Sterling moment.
I think is the GOAT. I think Burn Baby Burn is the GOAT. I love the Giambino. I think the Giambino call is really good. And I loved A-Bomb from A-Rod, and I loved El Capitan. Those are my 4 favorites right off the top of my head. The Aaron Judge call is very, very good too. Those ones are very iconic. But Burn Baby Burn, that's just GOAT level stuff. Burn Baby Burn! Freaking awesome. But I did love A-Bomb from A-Rod too. I thought it was really, really good.
Susan was actually telling a story about that one yesterday with Meredith, how they almost pulled the A-Bomb from A-Rod call until he found out that somebody was complaining about the bomb reference. And A-Rod's mom liked the call so much, John goes, well, then I'm not changing it.
Good. Good. Let's not get overly PC here. Come on. Jesus. Tats, have you remembered what his call is yet?
Oh, I saw Sunil spoiled it in the chat. But yeah, that Gary is scary.
Okay. That's the one.
Yep.
All right, Rob.
No, Bernie's my favorite player. I'm always going to be biased. Anything towards Bernie Williams, I'm going to pick that over anything. Bernie will always be my favorite Yankee of all time. Nothing will change that. As much as I love Judge, doesn't matter. As much as I love Jeter, it is always Bernie Williams. But Cold Italian Pizza had my number 2, Matsui.
Yes, it's a thriller from Godzilla.
Thriller from Godzilla. That is top notch right there. Those are my top 2, Bernie and Matsui.
Yep. And Nick, he did retire. He announced it on Monday that he's done. So he's not finishing the season. He's going to call a couple of innings on Saturday because they're going to do a ceremony for him. Burn Baby Burn, I think, has to really be in there in the conversation because that's the one that started the whole aura of the home run calls. But I'm with Jonathan. My all-time favorite call was the Mark Teixeira call.
I thought it was the Gary Sanchez call.
No, I had 2 favorites.
Runner up.
I had but you're on the Mark Teixeira. Mark said
Text message from Teixeira.
That was, I'm like, it was so easy, but still had a very unique attitude towards it.
Did Chuck Knobloch get one, or was he too much of a blockhead to get it? Because
I don't remember
how
one for Knobloch.
How can you even rhyme Knobloch?
No, Nick, he's old. He's going to be 86 in July.
Yeah, Hip Hip Jorge was really good. I love.
Yeah,
Hip
that
Hip
was
Jorge.
a good one.
What was the Tino Martinez goal? Because Tino's been always, he's like the top 5 dynasty Yankee for me. I absolutely love Tino Martinez. What was Tino Martinez call again?
Ooh.
He didn't say the Tino. He didn't say anything with Bambino, did he? Because he used that for Giambi.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me if Sterling had a brain fart. So now I have to look that up because I don't remember Tino's.
Me neither. But there was so many Tino home runs. There has to have been a call for him.
You had to have had a call.
So don't go spitting false information out.
In the All-Star game?
Okay, what about corny one? What about your least favorite though? Because until someone can remind us, if anyone can remind us what Tino's was,
Tino.
It was
Thank you,
it was.
G-Rod.
I knew it was something with Bambino because he used it twice. I'm like, that's why I didn't like Giambi so much. I'm like, he already used it, kind of.
Thank you, D. Agree. Bam Tino was good. Yeah, corny one. Okay.
The Gardy
I have
party
to be
was
honest.
kind of corny.
The most recent one with Stanton, where it's no supposed to parallel. I quite like that one. This one, whatever that is thing that he did, that is, I'm not feeling that at all. That was so corny. The most recent one that he did in his last home run for Stanton, that's a little corny for me.
What about he Els buried it? You didn't like that one?
Oh, he Els buried it.
I didn't like.
Spencer's least favorite is the Cano one.
Really?
Yeah, I'm shocked by that.
That actually made the most sense because it rhymed. Robbie Cano, don't you know? Like that made a little more sense than Swishalicious was interesting one.
Swishalicious. That's not too bad. What about like a good Glaber?
Torres is
there.
That one's
that's a
good.
Yeah.
That's a little corny for me.
I didn't like that one too much.
It's a little corny. El Capitan called Italian pizza.
Yeah.
El Capitan. That's historic. Absolutely historic.
Another least favorite was the one for Urshela, the most happy fella.
Yeah, it's a little.
That was kind of like, all right, you could have,
the most happy fella. But he was a happy fella, to be fair.
Yeah.
I actually agree with Sunil. Granderson's was pretty good. I don't know if he doesn't like that one. I like Granderson's because he would have
He was in there in my top 5, Granderson.
The Willy Wonka jingle, the Grandi Man. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Grandi Man can's very, very good. The Grandi Man. That was really good.
Yeah, like my top 5, it was Granderson, it was Cano, Jeter, Gary, and Mark were my top 5 calls.
It's a text message to Teixeira. Yeah.
So many. I put Bernie on its own level because that's the one that started it. And that was the one that was most unique. Like it was just off the head. There was no plan for it.
Just to answer your cousin here, not normal to abruptly retire like that. So I listened to Michael Kay, and obviously he was very, very close to John Sterling. And Kay was quite emotional talking about his retirement. He said that he spoke to him on the phone and tried to convince him to stay till the end of the season, or at least stay for another series to finish on a high. But John Sterling just said, I'm old. I'm just tired. My voice is still there, but it's a lot. It's exhausting to get to the ballpark. And also, like, we forget because we're just watching. It's not just 2 hours, guys. Like, there's pre-production. You have to, you sit down. There's meetings and all this stuff, and then you've got to prepare. This goes on. You're probably there. Like, if a game starts at 7, you're probably there 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. You're probably there 4 hours before the game starts, and then you're going right through 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. It's a long thing. It's a young man's game, really. And the fact that John Sterling did it so well up until about the age of 86 is unbelievable. John Sterling reiterated to Michael Kay that it wasn't health. And I'm happy to hear that. He's feeling under the weather, but he says nothing to do with the decision. He's just not feeling it anymore. He's exhausted. He just wants to enjoy watching every Yankee game, just sit and enjoy it. And I can't blame him. He just wants to sit, watch baseball, and enjoy his retirement. I just wish that he maybe would have given us a little bit more notice and maybe just said, my final game is such and such, but maybe that's the thing about John Sterling. And that was another thing I picked up from the K show, which is a good point, was maybe John Sterling didn't want it to be about himself. If he was like announced in the big grandiose tomorrow is my last day kind of a thing, then he's taking it away from the game and it's all about himself. I mean, he's never been that type of guy. He's always been about the game. So I think that's why he's decided just to kind of go quietly and then, say his goodbyes on Saturday and that'll be that. But I'm just happy to hear that it's not a serious health issue. He's just 85, 86. It happens, man. It's just, it's what it is. But it just shows that, it reminds us that even as fans, we just watch from like 7 till 10. That's it. But for these people that are involved in the whole broadcasting element, you probably have to add 3 hours prior to that ball game before you're even there. You're not even talking about the travel to Yankee Stadium, which will be a nightmare. So I get it. And then the travel's a nightmare to other states and stuff. So I get it.
He said, thinking back at it, he should have just announced it, prior to March, But the first phone call he made when he was on the phone, he called into Tiki and Roberts, and he said, he goes, one of the first phone calls I made was to my daughters. Hey, we don't have, we can go to dinner anytime we want now. His kids ready. And with friends, I don't have to. Well, they're on the road here. I'll be home. There's a 3:00 game on it. Because I could do whatever. Because I have the freedom to enjoy my life.
Yeah.
And so, but my last thought on Sterling, and then we'll close out. His love for the fans. He walked through the crowds to go into the stadium. He didn't go through a media entrance. Or on his way to the media entrance, he always stopped. How many photos have you seen over the last couple of days? Thousands of pictures of fans that Sterling stopped, took pictures with. He loved interacting with the fan base. And you don't see that a lot, if you ever do.
Agreed.
Where they're that humble. There was no ego with John Sterling. He was just a fan calling the game. And I think that's what he's going to be remembered for most in the booth. And so,
one more underrated call was Didi Gregorius. That's one more that.
Oh, that's a good one.
They're Didi. It's a nickname that stuck. And he was obviously knighted, but he used it. Yes, indeedy, like he would use that. And I have the shirt. I think it says Sir Didi. Never mind. I thought I had a Yes Indeedy shirt, but it was a good call.
Oh yeah.
Believe me, if we had time, we'd sit here for another hour.
That's another element, Sneal, that's underrated. He was a Yankee fan himself.
Yeah.
And Michael Kay even said that John Sterling lived and died every Yankee win or loss.
Yep.
And Kay even to the point was like, dude, why do you care so much? Which is surprising to me considering you're a Yankee announcer. And he's like, why do you care so much if the Yankees win or lose? And he's like, well, hello. The fans will love you more if the Yankees win and remember your voice with a Yankee win. So good. He's a wise man too. A little concerned that Michael Kay doesn't seem to be that bothered if the Yankees win or lose, but that's another issue.
I don't really like Michael Kay that much. I really don't like him. I think he's past his prime too. He was better with Sterling when he took over. I can't really listen to him. I think it was the best thing that the sound went out of last night for like an inning. There was no sound. I think it was great. I was like, thank you. I don't have to listen to Michael Kay yap anymore. But then he came back and he sounded like the radio system that Sunil probably first heard baseball on.
I know.
And Sunil, I don't know Paul O'Neill's call. If I known it, I would have said it. You've asked 7 times. I don't know what his call was. I don't think anyone does. I don't even know he had one.
I was so
Yeah.
funny, man. He was like he was in a wind
Back then,
tunnel.
not
It was like
everybody
he
had
was
one.
talking in a wind tunnel. It was hilarious yesterday.
Yeah, no, the sound going out, that was, I thought that was one very well timed because I was just about done with my dinner break. So, but no, on that note, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us this morning. Hope you guys all enjoyed today's show. Just remember to hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out with your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner. And as I always say, wear your pinstripes of pride and play hard.
Burn, baby, burn!